Hi Silem stars, you're welcome back to my channel. Silem here. In today's video guys, I'm going to show you how to make an overbust corset with Queen Anne neckline. It's also going to have a basque waistline, so if you want to see how to make this, definitely keep on watching. In today's video we're going to focus on the drafting, and in my next video we're going to go ahead and sew this together. So please don't forget to like, share and subscribe.
Oh hey, I didn't see you there.
The first thing I'm going to do is to mark my baseline at the top of the paper. So from the baseline here, I'm marking the armhole line. The armhole line is 9 inches. Then the bust point line is 11 inches. Under bust line is 14 inches. Now for the waistline in front, the waistline in front is 16 and a half. So I'm going to mark that, and then the length of this piece is 22 inches. This is going to have a basque waistline, so I'm using the length as 22 inches, and then I'm going to extend all of the points. So this is the chest line, bust point, under bust, waistline and blouse length. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide the shoulder measurements by 2. The shoulder I have here is 14 inches divided by 2. That gave me 7 inches. So I'm going to mark that here. I'm going to mark the same 7 inches on the chest line. Then I'm going to connect both points with a straight line. Now from this baseline, I'm going to come down by 1 inch and mark that. From that 1 inch point, I'm going to measure this line I have here, which is 8 inches. Half of that is 4 inches. I'm going to mark 4 inches right here, and then from that line I'm going to come in by half an inch. This is the point here, so I'm going to connect from this point to the chest line with a curve. But before I connect that, I'm going to mark the bust circumference divided by 4. That's this point right here. So I'm going to connect this point, and this point together. Now I'm going to divide the nipple to nipple measurement by 2. The nipple to nipple measurement I'm working with is 8 inches divided by 2. That gave me 4 inches. Now I'm going to start marking this from the top right here. I'll mark it all the way to the bottom of my paper, so all the way to the blouse length. From the under bust line, I'm going to mark 1 inch on both sides of this dart line. So this is actually my dart line. The nipple to nipple divided by 2 is actually my dart line. So I'll mark 1 inch on both sides of that line, starting from the under bust. Mark 1 inch on both sides. You mark that all the way down to the blouse length. And then connect all 3 points together. And then use your curved ruler to just draw a curve from this point to the bust point line. On this baseline, we're going to go out on both sides of this dart line by 1 inch. So from this dart line, mark 1 inch on both sides. And then from this bust point here, go up by half an inch. The reason why you're doing this is so that your corset is not too pointy around the bust point area. So go up from the bust point by half an inch, and then connect this point to these 2 points at the baseline here. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to mark our round body measurements. So I've already marked my bust circumference here, which is this point here. I'm going to replace this small dart I have here, which is about half an inch. I'm going to replace it here. Then on the under bust, I'm going to divide the round under bust by 4. And I'm going to place it on the under bust line here. I'm going to replace this 2 inches dart. Remember that we have 2 inches dart here, so I'll replace it on this side. Then on the blouse length, I'll divide the hip circumference by 4 and place it on the blouse length line and mark it. And then I'm going to replace the 2 inches dart that we have here. This dart here is 2 inches, so I'll replace it here. I'm also going to mark the waist circumference divided by 4 as well. Place it on the waistline, mark that point, and replace the dart. The dart here is 2 inches. Replace that dart on this side, and then connect all the points together. You can actually also use the same round under bust measurement, so I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll use the same round under bust measurement for my waist because I want it to be snatched. So instead of using my normal waist, I'm going to use my round under bust so that it has a better fitting. Okay, so I'll just connect it like so and like this. So I'm not going to be using this line here. So now we're going to be using the shoulder part of this corset, so we have to replace this dart that we have here. In order to do that, we're going to measure what we have from the baseline to the chest line. What I have here is 9 inches, so I'm going to divide this into 3 parts. So the first one will give me 3, so I'm going to mark this point here, 3, 6 and 9 obviously, which is the chest line. So now I'm going to move my tape and mark those same points, the 3, 6 and 9, on this line I have here, on this line I used to get my armhole curve. So this is 3, 6 and 9, which is this part. So these are the lines. So this one and this one are the lines. Okay, so don't get confused. This one and this one are the lines. So now the dart I have here is 2 inches. I'm going to mark 2 inches on this side here. On this point here, the dart I have here is 1.5. I'm going to mark that. Make sure you're marking this dart replacement from the armhole curve. Okay, so I have 1.5 here, so I'm going to mark 1.5 here. Here I have about 1 inch, so I'm going to mark 1 inch also from the armhole curve. So now I'm just going to connect these 3 points and connect it to the chest line. Okay, so this now becomes our new armhole line. So for the neckline, what I have here is 3 inches. I'm going to add an extra ½ inch, so my total neck width will now be 3.5 inches, so which is what I'm marking here. Now I'm going to come down from this new armhole here. I'll come down by 1 inch and mark it at this point, and then connect that to my neck width. So the shoulder to the waist in front is 16.5 inches, which is what I marked here. But the shoulder to the waist at the back is 15 inches. So 16.5 minus 15 inches will give us 1.5. So now that 1.5, I'm going to use it to create my bust dart. So from this bust point here, I'm going to come down by 1.5 and mark that point there. And then I'm going to go in from this point here by 0.25 inches. Mark that point, and then I'm going to connect it to this line to create our bust dart. So this here becomes the bust dart. I'm going to shade all our darts so we are not confused. Now if you want yours to be like this, you don't want to do the basque waistline, all you have to do is just go up from this blouse length by 2 inches and connect it to your blouse length here. This is what you're going to have. But for me, I'm making a basque waistline. So from the original waistline, I'm marking 1.5 inches downwards. So that's my new waistline to create the basque effect. So I'm just extending that. Obviously, you have to decide what you want, but this is how I want mine to be. I want the waistline to come down a bit more by the side. Then for the basque effect, from the waistline I'm coming down by 4.5 inches. And then I'm going to connect it. To connect these 2 points, you can decide to use any style line you want. You can go like this with a V shape. You can do a curved one, just like this. But for me, I want to go straight out a bit and then curve it in. That's the style I want. So I'm just going to go straight a bit from here. Straight a bit from here, and then curve it from that point. We're not using this anymore because we've created the basque waistline effect. Now, in order to be sure that this curve connects perfectly when I close my dart, I'm just going to fold in my paper. So can you see, when I close it now, it doesn't match anymore. So I'm just going to alter it a bit. So this is the line we're now going to cut, this one here and this one here. So now it's time for us to create the neckline that we want. For me, I want to have a sweetheart neckline. So from the shoulder here, I'm going to mark 7.5 inches. Once you mark 8 inches or below, the person's bust begins to show. So you have to take note of that. From the shoulder now, I'm just marking 7.5 inches. And then on this side, I'm marking 6 inches, okay? 6 inches is what I want to mark, 6 inches. And then here is still 7.5. Then I'll just connect it with my marker, my curved ruler. So this is what we have for our sweetheart neckline. So on this side, I'm also going to mark that same 6 inches. I'll connect the curve from this point to the chest line. Now to create the overbust tightening, I'm going to mark ½ inch from this dart line here, mark ½ inch outwards here and ½ inch outwards here. So ½ inch on this side, ½ inch on this side. And then I'll connect these 2 points to the bust point line. So make sure you're using your curved ruler to connect this, and make sure you're connecting this to your bust points, like so. So now once I'm done with that, I'm going to connect this bust tightening back to the top of this dart here. Now the next thing I'll do is to divide this side fronts into 2. This is optional, you don't need to do this. So like I said, you can decide to cut these 2 pieces into 2, but for me, I'm not going to cut it. I'm just going to use them as one piece. So to close my dart, I'm just going to close it like this. So just fold it and then use that to close my dart. Take this in place. So now if you're cutting your piece into 2, you have to draw a new line. But for me, I'm not cutting this into 2, but this line now I need to draw it again because it's no longer straight. Okay, so this now becomes our new line. So I'm just going to cut this out. This now becomes our side piece. This is our front piece, and then this is our extension at the top. Okay, for the back piece, the first thing I'm going to mark is the zipper allowance line. I'm actually going to be adding zipper to this piece, and then I'll mark the baseline at the top. I'll mark the chest line, which is 9 inches, and the half length line for the back, or the waistline for the back, which is 15 inches. Remember that the waistline for the front is 16.5, but for the back it's 15 inches. Then I'm going to extend all those lines. So this is the chest line and this is the waistline. Then I'll mark the shoulder divided by 2, which gave me 7 inches. I'll mark that on the baseline and on the chest line as well. Then I'm going to connect both points together. Then on the chest line, I'm going to divide the bust circumference by 4. Mark that on the chest line starting from the zipper allowance line. I'm going to come down from the shoulder by 1 inch for that shoulder slope. Then I'm going to measure what I have from that point to the chest line and get the midpoint of that, which gave me 4 inches. And I'm going to draw a curve from this point to this point. No need to go in by half an inch for the back piece. Now on the waistline, I'm going to divide the round under bust measurements by 4. And then I'm going to mark that on the waistline right here. And then I'm going to add 1 inch for the darts. So I'm going to replace the darts that I'm going to add. So replace that 1 inch dart here. Then I'm going to connect both points together. Again, if you're making a full blouse, you can just simply mark your hip measurement at the bottom of the paper. But because I'm making a basque waistline, there's no need to add that extra measurement at the bottom. So I'm just going to connect the bust with the waist like so. Now I'm going to mark the nipple to nipple divided by 2, which gave me 4 inches. I'll mark that on the chest line and on the waistline. Like I said, this corset is going to have a zipper, but if you're going to do eyelets or loops, you have to take out about 1.5 inches from the center back, cut that out in order for you to create that opening at the back. But for me, because there's going to be a zipper, I'm not going to do that. I've just connected these 2 points. Now on the bottom part, that's on the waistline, I'm going to go out on both sides of this dart line by half an inch. So half an inch plus half an inch will give me 1 inch, which is the 1 inch I had already replaced here. Then I'll connect this up to the chest line. In order for there not to be any zipper bulging, I'm going to go in from the edge of the paper by 0.75. Okay, remember that our allowance here for the zipper is 1.5, so I went in by 0.75 at the waist. Then I'm going to connect it out to the chest line. So remember, for the front piece, our neck width was 3.5, so I'm going to mark that same 3.5 starting from the zipper allowance line, which is this point I have here. I'm going to connect this now to the 1 inch I came down by. I'm going to go out by half an inch, and then I'm going to connect that to the neck width. So this actually has a Queen Anne neckline shape. So you can have this Queen Anne neckline shape for the back, but for me, I'm going to use a regular high neckline for the back so that the Queen Anne neckline shape is only in front. Okay, so from the shoulder here now, I'm going to come down by 3 inches for the back, and then I'm going to connect that. So this is the neckline I'm going to use. So like I said, if you want a Queen Anne neckline, you can just use this neckline. Just make sure you come up from this line by about half an inch, connect it back to this line, and take out a bit of the excess, because there will be excess here if you don't do it that way. For me, I'm going to be using the normal neckline. So this is it for my back piece. It's very simple, just a basic dart for the back.